In the aftermath of the Trump assassination attempt, I ran across a few videos where people were doing an analysis of the sound of the gunshots in order to try to extract more information. Now, I'd recently learned how to use an audio package to do podcasting with, and I thought, hey, why not? Let's take a look. And within a matter of minutes, I found something. And I've kept an eye on the alternative, on the social media and stuff, and nobody else seems to have come up with this. So I feel compelled to put this out. Now, this all happens in the first 2.5 seconds of the shooting, where we hear 3 shots ring out. On closer analysis, there's actually 4 shots in there. And I'm going to show you exactly how that's real, how it's possible. The information here, I believe, is strong enough to stand in a court of law. Now, of course, that would be assuming that there's a court of law that might be interested in such a thing, which is a completely different question that this video is not about. This is just about the evidence. So I ask you, appoint yourself as a member of the jury and take a look at the following and give me your judgment. Is this valid evidence of a second shooter? Let's start by taking a look at the video that I used as a basis for this analysis.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
Here we have the audio waveform from the clip. So let's give it a quick replay.
Something that said, take a look at what happened.
The software I'm using here is called Audacity. It's free software. A lot of people use it for recording, podcasting, that sort of thing. I'm going to walk you through the steps quickly that I went through to do this analysis. First thing I'm going to do here is take the stereo track and turn it into 2 mono tracks. We only need 1 track to do our analysis. The next thing I'm going to do is to trim this up a bit so we just have the area where the shots are happening. We're going to take that out, cut it right here. Okay. So now we have the parts just where the shooting is happening. The next step I'm going to do is to slow down the speed on this. So I'm going to slow this down by a factor of 4. So I'm going to use a multiplier of 0.25, so it's going to be 1/4 speed. Let's zoom out. So there we have our clip at 1/4 speed. Give it a listen. So yes, there is a lot more detail in there. What I'm going to do next is enable something called the spectrogram view. Now, the spectrogram view is giving us a temperature graph based on the frequencies. So the low frequencies are near the bottom, the higher frequencies towards the top. So what we're going to do is make a little better use of space, and there we go. So let's start by taking a look at just these first 2 shots. And we are going to look for patterns here. Now, the first thing I noticed that was unusual is there's this little spike here. And if we play it, you can hear it. It's just like a little tick. And that is actually the sound of the bullet passing. NTD was recording from the media area. They must have had their own microphone. So they were recording Trump's voice as it came over the PA system. And it picked up on a lot of environmental background sound that the podium microphone did not pick up on. What we have happening after the sound of the bullet is the sound of the gun going off, the gun itself. So let's give a quick listen to that. And following that are all the echoes. And this is the sound of the gunshot echoing off buildings and any significant object in the environment. Okay, so we have bullet, gunshot, echoes. Shot number 2. What we see is the same pattern here. There's the sound of the bullet, just that little tick. And this is followed by the sound of the gunshot. And after the gunshot, we have the echoes. Good, so that's the first 2 shots. Now, it's in the third shot where things get different, things get interesting. The first thing I noticed is there appears to be the sound signature of 2 bullets. And these are almost directly right on top of each other. So this is like, 0.14, 0.138 seconds. So, and that's slowed down. So we're talking about 0.035 seconds. So these 2 sounds are almost directly on top of each other. We're talking, 3 to 4 1/100ths of a second. It's separation between the 2. But when I look at it, that really looks like the sound signature of a bullet. It's fainter, which means it's passing at a somewhat further distance, so it's not as loud. But let's give a listen to it. Let's see what that sounds like. Now, I don't know if your ear picks that up, but while the other one sounded like a tick, this one sounds like a little tuck tick. That's the only way I could describe it, a little tuck tick. And then what comes after, we have the sound of the gunshot. And then we have all the echoes. The question here, the question that I asked myself was, if this is the sound of a bullet passing, where is the sound of the rifle that shot that bullet? It would have to be in here, somewhere buried in all these echoes. So how can we separate that out? How can we filter that out? Well, that is the next step in this analysis. I'm going to line up each shot side by side. I'm going to speed up this section because it is a little involved, but if you're familiar with Audacity, you'll see what's going on. All right, so there we have it. So what I've done here is I've lined up each shot based on the sound of the bullet, the most significant loud sound of the bullet. And now what we have is the sound of the gunshot and the echoes all lined up with that timing. All right, so let's switch back to our waveform view. This is the point where something important comes out. Now, here we have the sound of the muzzle blast of the rifle. We have this jumbled area of echoes here. We have this second echo over here, second prominent echo. We have a third prominent echo, and we have a fourth significant echo. But when you look at the third shot, again, we have muzzle blast, we have this jumbled echo, we have this second prominent echo, we have number 3, and we have number 4. But what is this? It's not an echo. If it was an echo, it would have appeared in shots number 1 and 2. So when I look at this, what I see here is the sound of the rifle shot of that extra bullet, that fourth bullet, and that's it right here. It's a little delayed, which means the gunshot would have come from somewhat further away than the first two. This little thing here could be an echo from this as well. There's no way a new echo would have suddenly appeared, unless, of course, a new building suddenly appeared or something like that. It's impossible. This clearly is evidence of a second shooter. And so, members of the jury, I await your decision. Is this valid evidence of a second shooter at the Trump assassination attempt? Now, if you happen to be familiar with Audacity, the software package I'm using here, or a similar package, I encourage you to find your own NTD footage and do your own analysis. And by all means, share your results. Certainly, this information raises a lot more questions than it answers. And if I get enough feedback on this, I will be doing follow-up videos. Apart from this, I am working on another project. This one is about artificial intelligence, and I'm taking a look at it from a direction that most people haven't considered yet. And I think it's going to be important and valuable. That should be coming out in a month or two. Now, in the show notes below, you will find links to provide one-time or ongoing support. I encourage you to do so if you find my work of value. And if this video is a repost, you can check out my podcast website, thislightshines.net, and there are support links you can follow there as well. Thank you for listening, and as always, God bless.